talked about much. I'm not the first person I've ever heard preach on it. But after what happened to Adriana's Hunter's sister, I'm sure going to preach on it tonight. Because we had to, man, I tell you what, they call it correctional facilities. And I think it's a joke name because they ain't correcting not one thing. And I titled tonight service Incarceration in the Bible. And I'm going to bring out some stats in America and our crime statistics. And I'm going to bring out a little bit scriptures. And I'm going to show you some country or two that actually practices what the Old Testament tells us to practice. And I tell you, what's the problem? What's the problem in the United States? We can't do nothing God's way. Nothing God's way. We have to do everything different. And nothing's working. The crime rate keeps going sky high. The drugs keep getting worse. The stealing keeps getting worse. The murdering keeps getting worse. So obviously we're not doing something right. And people's making money, profiting on all this stuff. And, I've got friends that's had trouble with the law in the past, and it's like they can't never shake it. The fees keep going up, so they can't never afford to pay, and it's like they can never get out of trouble once you're in it. Yeah, but the Bible ways you get in trouble, you got took care of pretty quick. It was just, and then you went on your way. So we'll go ahead and get started with this. And I'm going to start out reading Psalms 82. Defend the poor and the fatherless, do justice to the afflicted and needy. Deliver the poor and needy, rid them out of the hand of the wicked. And I want to start out saying right now, I'm definitely not anti-police. If anything, if I needed them, I sure ain't going to hesitate to call. I don't want to defund the police or nothing like that. I ain't stupid. Note, I am anti-bad police. There's some trigger-happy policemen out there. They don't need to be on the force. If there's crooked police, they definitely don't need to be on the force. Police is something you've got to have good, just, righteous people, or they don't need to be on it because they could cause a lot of trouble and they get by with a lot of stuff they shouldn't be able to get by with. And I know there's crookedness in the police system because I've had friends that worked for it. I had a friend that had to spill the beans on the county down the road here. He said, man, there was so much corruption going on. He said, I couldn't stand there and let it go on all the time. So he had to tell, and I have friends that's been in prisons and jails. There's as much drugs there as they are in the streets here. And what they do, they hire a guard, a prison guard or jailer or something that don't have a criminal record, and they get a job there and smuggle all the drugs in. They make six figures and off of our correctional facilities, and the homosexuality running rampant in the jails and rape and murder. And I have friends in prison say that they be sitting in lunch in the cafeteria and somebody will grab somebody and just start stabbing them in the face. And murderers keep murdering. Now, I don't know why people have such a problem with what the Bible teaches on dealing with murderers. Okay, but this is some statistics. In the United States, at the end of 2019, there were just under 2.1 million people behind the bars in the U.S., including 1.43 million under the jurisdiction of federal and state prisons, and roughly 735,000 in the custody of locally run jails. Well, Eric, do you want just the criminals, the rapists, and the murderers, and the violent offenders out on the street? No, I sure don't. They should be killed, like the Bible says. To get it, that solved the problem. Kent Hovind was a Christian. Had a very strong, very, very good ministry. And they watched him like a hawk, called him cheating taxes a little bit. If he did, if he didn't, who knows? But he went to prison 8.5 years. And he's the one that kind of told me, he said, listen, well, he didn't tell me personally, but he said, while he was in prison, he was studying. He's like, man, he's like, the Israel, when God gave out the laws to Moses, he never told them to have jails at all, or prisons at all. And I'll get into what the punishments for crime. And you don't read about prisons in the Bible until you get to Joseph. And who had the prisons? It was Egyptians. In the New Testament, you read about the New Testament saints, the apostles, disciples, and all that getting arrested. Who had those prisons? It was the Romans. But the Old Testament, that was never God's plan. In the United States, we have in our Constitution, and it's good. We need it in there. No cruel and unusual punishment. You can't put people on stocks and sit them outside in the cold weather and let people walk by them and laugh at them, ridicule them. And we don't have cruel and unusual punishment in America, and we shouldn't have it. But putting people in a cage, taking them away from their family for years at a time, when there could be other ways to solve that problem. America has a very bad success rate as far as like crime. They go in prison, get out, and go right back. Other countries, though, they say Norway, only 20% of their prisoners go back into crime. So what are they doing right and we're doing wrong? Okay, Tennessee has an incarceration rate of 838 people per 100,000 people, including prisons, jails, immigration detention, juvenile justice facilities, meaning that it locks up a higher percentage of its people than any democracy on earth. So Tennessee has more people locked up than anywhere on this whole entire planet. America has more people locked up in prison than anywhere on any country in the whole entire world. And you know, Revelation talks about Babylon having slaves, and that used to bother me. I was like, well, nobody's got slavery anymore. Well, I know we got human trafficking and all that, but where you count millions of people locked up in a prison behind bars, are they free? I mean, they're prisoners, but are they free? Okay, 1 in 160 United States people are in jail. 1 in 160. So if you go out here to somewhere where there's a lot of people, like a harvest day or whatever, you see hundreds of people say, all right, 1 in 160 is in prison. In Tennessee, 1 in 115. That's rounding off, but it's approximately. That's too much. And in a country that's holy and righteous, don't have to have laws and prisons anyway. But the more ungodly and unholy we get, the more that we're going to need more laws and more jails and more all this and that. Okay, what is the reoffending rate in the U.S.? Norway has one of the lowest recidivism rates in the world at 20%. The U.S. has one of the highest. 76.6 prisoners are rearrested within 5 years. And I'll see friends on Facebook, get out of prison and everybody's happy. And then a few months later, back in there again. And that's a shame. And that's why I've told prisoners and jail people, I was like, look, when you get out, come to church. You don't want to come to ours, find somewhere to go. One guy's been teaching Sunday school in the prison he's at, and he's getting ready to get out soon. And he called his brother crying. And he said, man, I don't know if any church will have me or not. He said, I'm on fire for God now. I teach the Bible all day. I'm reading the Bible all day. It's all I do. He said, what am I going to do when I get out? And my friend told him, says, funny you just said that, because Eric just called me and told me to tell you that when you get out, he's got a place for you. And that's Christian. That's Christ-like. Now, I ain't going to have a bunch of chomos and pedophiles and rapists and stuff in here, but these unviolent drug offenders, half the prisoners in jail is over drugs. And I don't want drugs all over the street. I don't want people dealing drugs. If you think drugs is a good thing and to help our country and help our nation, help our society, you're out of your mind. You're crazy. But drugs are legal. You just got to go to a more educated drug dealer, get your prescription, go to the pharmacy and get them, and that's what's hurt our streets worse than anything. The pot dealer down the road, they're bad, but they ain't polluted our streets and hurt as many people, as many overdoses as the legal drug dealer doctor slinging pills left and right all over the place. I remember one time I was having what they believed, they wasn't for sure, they done blood tests, I believe it was a kidney stone. I mean, it was the worst pain. And I was laying in the floor at Morristown Hospital, just a wallering in the floor, and I looked up and I seen a bunch of people I went to school with, a bunch of people that lived around here. And I told you, over 30 people that live around here is dead now. A lot of them was at the hospital that day holding their arms, acting like they was hurting. So, because they know they's going there to the doctor and say, oh, I'm hurting. Doctor gave them a bunch of pills. And I told them, I said, I will kill everyone. I'll give you everyone a reason to be here if you don't let me go in front of you, because I'm in a lot of pain. That was the boldest I've ever been. And they said, yeah, we understand. Go ahead. So they pulled me in front of everybody. But the doctors knew. Them guys was in there just to get pills and stuff, 8%, or 0.8% of prisons are private for-profit businesses. Anybody know that? That some prisons are just like you open up a dollar store down the road. You make money off of it. And I remember one election year, Fox News and all that's pushing Mitt Romney. And I was like, man, Mitt Romney is a Mormon. He wears holy underwear. And they caught that man in so many lies. I mean, Fox News would never show you. But he'd say, yeah, I don't have any what lobbyists on my campaign trail, you know, or on my staff. And then they could prove easily, like, about everybody on his campaign staff was lobbyists. And then he'd say, yeah, I ran the Olympics one year and said, I didn't even go to Washington, D.C. And then they pull out a video of him when he was running the Olympics telling everybody, we're going to go to D.C. and get all the money. Just a big old fat liar. And I said, I don't want to support him for president. So I started looking into other people. And I noticed one was packing stadiums everywhere he went. That was Ron Paul. Whether you like him or not, he was popular. He went into all crowds like Trump, but next to Trump, he was packing it out. But he said these prisons out here is for profit. He said that's why they're never going to be crime reform, because they're making money off of us and making money off of crime and criminals. And so they're going to keep the TV full of trash. They're going to keep the radio full of trash. They're just going to keep the culture full of trash so they keep that money coming in. And it's something like $60,000 to $80,000 a year it costs to jail an inmate. I mean, what they do to us that we have to pay for them? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's crazy. And by law, they have to be 90-something% filled so they can make profit and everything. It's bad. It's bad. That's not the way it should be. But 31 states allow private, for-profit run prisons. 116,000 people in private for-profit prisons. 116,000. You think, well, that's not that much compared to 2.1 million. Go to a UT ball game. Go sit in that stadium. That's about 116,000 people. And you look how many people that is. That's in private, for-profit prisons. You think they care about reforming them people? You care they care about getting crime off the street when they're making money off of us? They got there Sumner Redstone. He owned MTV and Viacom and Showtime, Nickelodeon, and all them junk trash. He's the one that helped corrupt me more than anybody in the world. But he bought into the private prison systems. And if you look who owns them, a lot of it's like big banks, big corporations, all that. He invested in it. And I noticed in the 90s when I was in high school, they was really pushing rock and roll, and all at once, boom, they put a halt on rock and roll and started pushing gangster rap. And then after gangster rap, you know, here come Tupac and Biggie and all that. People go around shooting each other all over the place. And they said that Sumner Redstone, when he bought into the private prison complex, he told his executives to slow down on playing rock and roll. Start playing gangster rap. Why? Because he's making money off people going to prison. He corrupted our nation so he can make money. That's how the people on top are. And tell you, it's God of this world is what the Bible says. Satan is running the course. The way things are being handled is not being handled God's way. Let's read a little bit about God's way. Hearken now to my voice, is Exodus 18. I will give thee counsel, and God shall be with thee. Be thou for the people to Godward, that thou mayest bring the causes unto God. And thou shalt teach them ordinances and law, and show them the way wherein they must walk, and the work they must do. Moreover, thou shalt provide out of thy people able men, such as fear God. Sumner Redstone, did he fear God when he, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them, to be rulers over thousands, and rulers over hundreds, rulers over 50s, and rulers of 10. And let them judge the people at all seasons, and it shall be that every great matter they shall bring it to thee, but every small matter they shall judge. So it shall be easier for thyself, and thou shalt bear the burden with thee. And what's happening here, Moses is sitting there and people's coming to him all day and night, all day. Soon gets up to go to bed, had to deal with problems. And his father-in-law Jethro said, Moses, you're going to have to delegate a little bit. Break it down into groups. You have your Supreme Court and your lower courts. And that's how the children of Israel handle things, by judges. And they did have trials. And they weren't just out there anarchy and fending for themselves. They had judges to take care of problems. They were godly men. They were Christian men, honorable men that wasn't out here doing corruption. There's been judges put in, arrested for putting people in jail to make, like a juveniles. They'll invest, put their own money in a juvenile detention center to make money, and then put kids in it. The judges would put kids in it, get them locked up so they can make money. The state had to pay for it. But anyway, that's God's way of doing things, judges. Okay? And then up here a little bit, Exodus 18, thou shalt do this thing, and God command thee, so then thou shalt be able to endure, and all this people shall also go their place in peace. So Moses hearkened to the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he had said. And Moses chose able men out of all Israel, and made them heads over the people. rulers over thousands, rulers over hundreds, rulers over 50s, rulers over 10. And they judged the people at all seasons. The hard causes they brought into Moses, but every small matter they judged themselves. And when Moses let his father-in-law depart and went his way into the land. So that's what the children of Israel did. They had judges. Guys, Ezra up here now. Be quiet. I'm tired of having to call you down every time I'm preaching. You know what that sounds like on video when I'm calling you down all the time? If you just want to talk, get up here and preach beside of me. You want to preach beside of me, guys? You want to get up here and everybody look at you? All right, be quiet. They want to hear me right now. They want to hear you. I don't want to hear you, okay? Got it? Quiet? Good. All right. Leviticus 20. It'll show you, if you read Leviticus 20, I don't want to read all that, for sake of time, but Leviticus 20 will show you some crimes and what was punishable by death and what was punishable by other ways. And so that's a good chapter if you want to read how what God thought of things. And there was things that in the Old Testament get you killed that we don't even blink an eye at today. Homosexuality got you killed. Bestiality definitely got you killed. Hitting your mother and father, cursing your mother and father, that got you killed back in the Old Testament. And in Genesis 9, it said when God told Noah and his family, Cain killed Abel. God protected him a little bit. And then down the road, another man killed a person. He said, I should be protected better than Cain, And but God's like, enough of this stuff. And he told Noah, and this is how we're supposed to be in since the days of Noah. So who shall shed a man's blood? By man shall his blood be shed. For the image of God, he made man. So it's definitely biblical, capital punishment. I tell you, murderers, guess what they do? They still murder. They put these murderers in prison. They put these murderers in jail. And then somebody gets put in jail for having a marijuana joint or something, and then the murderer kills them. And I got a friend stabbed in jail. He said to get in the clubs in jail, get in the clubs in prison, you have to go stab somebody. And I tell you, it's supposed to be crime reform. It's supposed to be clean up the streets. Not send people in there in the gulags to get raped, and murdered, and beat to death and killed and all that. That's not how things are supposed to go. That is not biblical. Well, what about rapists? Well, the Bible says rapists be put in jail. Be murdered. What about the kidnappers? The Bible says kidnappers should be killed. Even adulterers were killed in the Old Testament. And you want to put an end to the raping? You want to put an end to kidnapping? You want to put an end to sex trafficking and all that? Then you kill them turkeys. And you get them stone dead like God said we're supposed to. But instead we would let the media tells us, we need to have compassion on the chomos. We need to have compassion on the rapists. We need to have compassion on the murderers and all that. Love, love. And they don't realize that the murderers down the streets, the murderers in the prison are going to kill their family members down the road, their loved ones down the road. It's just a bunch of junk so they can sit and make money off of people. Now I know there's been people being falsely accused, put to death that will end up being innocent, but that's rare. That rarely happens. A lot of people have been today's time been caught on camera being filmed murdering. They need to be done the same way. They need to be murdered. Oh, that's not nice. Hey, that's Bible. If you got a problem with that, go to God. New Testament didn't do away with capital punishment at all. New Testament, Jesus told them when he rolled on the ground, he said, those without sin, cast the first stone. What did he say? Cast the stone. But you had to be without sin, because I'm sure one of the main ways of killing people in the Old Testament was stoning. Sometimes they'd burn them. Sometimes they'd burn witches and stuff. But they stoned people. You was a murderer, took you out of town, everybody threw a rock, got you over with. There weren't murderers in their society. People told me back in the day, if you mistreated your family, or if you was a vile, wicked, nasty person, and you moved into a community, and you was living that way, people found out about it. I ain't talking about Ku Klux Klan. I'm talking about good Christian men would pay you a visit and let you know, you ain't going to live that way around here. You ain't going to starve your family to death around here. You're not going to lay around drunk, not work around here. You're not going to beat your wife around here. And the men in the community let people know, you ain't going to get by with that dumb stuff. But nowadays, everybody gets by with everybody. I used to, my grandma would walk 5 miles to school every day, and I wouldn't let my kids, I hate them about being out in the parking lot. If we didn't have cameras out there, I wouldn't even, no way I'd let them out in the parking lot, because the world's got so dangerous. I'm not for Halloween. We used to have trick-or-treating. Everybody go knock on everybody's house in every neighborhood. They don't now. I wouldn't have way in the world I'd let my kids go trick-or-treating in everybody's houses now, which I'm not anyway, but Exodus 22. Capital punishment is one of God's ways to take care of criminals. Period. Another way, if a man shall steal an ox or sheep or kill it and sell it, he shall restore 5 oxen for an ox, 4 sheep for a sheep, etc., etc. And it's saying here, if you stole something, you get caught, guess what? You owe that person. If you steal my car, you get caught, you owe me 4 or 5 cars now. You know what? If criminals got caught doing that, they would quit stealing real quick. Well, what if they just don't never pay you back? Well, we're going to get in that in a minute, what they do if you didn't pay you back. But that, I think that's called restitution. You still get caught, you have to pay that person back. And many times now, if somebody robs me, Gary, and steals $10,000 from me, I don't get that money back. The police and all that do. Police and stuff, the jails make all the money off of it now. Why don't I get none of the money? The police and all them are there. When they had to pay fines and probation, the people got robbed don't get it. The courts and police and all that do, or whatever does. Like I said, I'm not anti-police. I'm anti this dumb system we got that's not helping them crime rates going up. And Proverbs 6, men do not despise a thief if he steal to satisfy his soul when he's hungry. But if he be found, he shall restore 7-fold. He shall give all the substance of his house. So, there you go again. If he steals food and be hungry, his punishments, he's got to pay it back 7 times. This sounds like a better law than what we got now. You steal something, you get arrested for 6 months, you took away from your family, you can't work, provide for your kids. Somebody has to raise your kids for you and provide. And then the state has to pay $60,000 for you to be kept in jail, and you're in there for a bunch of criminals, get worse and worse and worse. And they separate people to different races, different race, so they can form gangs and fight other races, constantly fighting violence. It's set up that way. It's stupid. It's wicked. But that was one way of handling things, was capital punishment. Number 2 was restitution. Okay, if the Deuteronomy 25, there be a controversy between men, and they come into judgment, that the judges may judge them. Then they shall justify the righteous and condemn the wicked. And it shall be, if the wicked man be worthy to be beaten, that the judges shall cause him to lie down and be beaten before his face, according to his fault by a certain number. 40 stripes he may give him, and not to exceed, lest he should exceed and beat him by these with many stripes. Then thy brother shall seem vile unto thee. So what this is saying is that a judge would sentence a man to be beaten for certain crimes. Okay, that puts an end to stuff. If it wasn't bad enough for capital murder, but was like, but wasn't weak enough to, it's in between restitution murder. You do something pretty bad, or like say you steal somebody, you don't pay it back. Guess what happens? You get flogged. And the judges had to watch it. So they wouldn't give people, they weren't allowed to give them no more than 40 stripes. So usually they give them 39, so they wouldn't go over 40. But man, 40, that had to be somebody pretty bad. But they judges had to sit there and watch somebody get beat. If you steal an apple from Holtz, a judge is not going to give you 39 stripes and sit there and have to watch it. Because he's going to have no sense. It's going to hurt him too watching get whooped. So you might get one whooping or something. But that helps. Flogging helps. We have absolutely vilified whipping and flogging and stuff, because everybody makes it coincide with slavery. And they did. They used whipping in slavery. Them people is in hell now. Everybody that had slaves is probably in hell burning right now. Slavery is the dumbest thing ever happened. But why couldn't the slaves get a break? Because anytime they look up, they get whipped with the whip and everything. But in court, in justice, in law, the whips are the best thing that we can ever do, is to flog people. And I know everybody here's thinking I'm crazy because you've been conditioned. And I just read you the Bible, and you're going along with this liberal, hug-a-tree, fairy, sissy TV shows you watch and everything. But think about it. A drug dealer is getting ready to go to jail. He's going to go spend 6 months in jail, whatever, and get 3 meals a day, watch TV, probably got internet, swimming pools, everything now. Or he's getting ready to get thrashed, okay? After he gets thrashed, you think he's going to get out and start stealing again? More likely not. But once he gets in there, I had a friend tell me one time, Well, I say friend. A guy I worked with, Dad warned me. He said, quit telling everybody that these people are your friends. I said, yeah, I just, these murderers. So, our friends, murder. Me, never hung out with them, ever. Just worked with them or knew something. But the guy told me, he said, I like jail. He said, I like going to jail. I have fun in jail. Now he's in jail for life because he killed a boy up there at the trailer park. Right? How's that a detour? Why is he, hey, he's just going somewhere he wanted to go. That's his punishment, going somewhere he likes to go anyway. But what if he thought, well, you're going to get put out in the middle of the street and stoned? Used to, when they hang people, hanging used to be the capital offense in America. They said crime rate stayed low. Singapore, you could go to the poorest city wearing gold like Mr. T, 3 o'clock in the morning, people leave you alone. You know why? Because they cane people. They wear your behind out. The Bible says you spare the rod. It don't say you spare the rod, spoil child. It says you hate your kid if you don't beat them with a rod. And I ain't talking about abuse and hitting them on the head or nothing. Their behinds are there for a reason. Their legs are there for a reason. And that is for whippings. Used to have paddlings in school. It was a deterrent. Kids were a little bit better behaved in school when they was paddling. But Kent Hovind said while he was in jail, he'd asked the prisoners, he said, which would you rather do, get 1 or 2 stripes in your back and get to go home, or be locked up in a cage for 6 months? They said, well, I'd rather be, if I had to choose between, I'd rather get whipped. And he said, but which one would have kept you from committing a crime after you did it? They said, whooping. They said, we ain't going to go committing crimes. We're going to get whipped down. And I'm telling you, that is God's way. It works. Whoopings is a deterrent for crime. And that would make a lot of people straighten up and put their toes on the line. I'm telling you, it's Bible's way. Romans 13, this is the last verse. Let every soul be subject to the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resists the power, resisteth the ordinance of God, that they should resist shall receive themselves damnation. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise the same. For he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that does evil. So sit there, even New Testament, capital punishment's okay. But if you want to really keep from having to worry about the whipping and the floggings and the being locked up away from your family and all this goofy stuff anyway, just be good. Don't break the laws. Be a holy, righteous person. We don't have to worry about here when we're driving home, the cops pulling us over. Why? Because we ain't got fifth for liquor open in our seat. We ain't got kids kidnapped in the trunk or nothing. We don't have to worry about, except sometimes our feet get a little heavy. We might be speeding or something, but we don't have to fear the police. When the police get around me now, I'm not so worried because they ain't got nothing on me. And that's the way Christians was. We should obey the laws. We should respect policemen. We should respect the judges. We should respect everything. And then you don't have to worry about it to begin with. But I'm telling you guys, I've heard some nightmare stories about prisons and jails. You guys do not want to go there. Let this message, I know our law's never going to change to where they're going to start whipping people. I know they'll never let that happen. I'm wasting my breath on that. I'm just let you know what the Bible says and let you know the Bible's way worked. But I've heard some nightmare jail stories. You guys do not want to go there. Not yet, Chloe. You do not want to go there. My friend said his job, getting up in the morning, he was in a pod. And that's where a lot of jails were kind of stacked up on top of each other. His job is to get up for everybody, make coffee and orange juice, probably waffles and donuts and caviar and everything else. It's prison. But he said his job was to get stuff ready for everybody. And he said the guy, it was his partner, got up in the morning and helped him. Said every now and then he'd go, I'll be back in a minute, and just go in there and rape somebody. And said you'd hear the awful sound, people get raped and stuff, and then he'd come back. I'm talking about a big old guy. Said you couldn't help the poor person being raped, or you'd be next. Does that sound like something that's godly, something good? So I'm telling you guys, you want to stay out of there. I can tell you horror stories all day. People getting beat out. Their poor sister got her teeth knocked out last time she was in jail. By who? The guards and stuff. We still don't know what happened to her. They're trying to keep it secret what happened to her over there. People, stay out of jail. It's not a good place. And I'm done. Does anybody got anything? Like I said, I know that I told you it's going to be a weird message. Yes, Chloe. Respect the poor. Respect the poor. So the Bible says, I read a little bit about that now. Anybody got any arguments with the Bible? I tell you what, think about it for a minute. Think about where you have problems in life. Okay, what if I got whipped? If I did that, I'm not going to do it. Whip in the back. And I ain't talking about just beating somebody to death and abuse and all that. I'm talking about you go through a judge, you go through a trial, you're found guilty, you get a fair, just punishment, you get striped, and you quit. Or if you rape people, kill people, kidnap people, you die, period. You get out of the, I did have friends that killed people down the road. I wasn't hanging out with them during the time. I had a wrestler. He'd wrestle any benefit, help people raise money. And that area is a pretty good guy. He cheated on his wife real bad. She cheated on him. He killed her. Stuck his gun to her head, blew her brains out. He needs to be in the ground. I got another friend. He was a real good guy. He protected me. He helped me in school and stuff. Wouldn't let people mess with me. But he went out here and shot 2 people, shot 4 people, killed 2 of them. I like him. I've rode him. We've talked since then. By God's law, he needs to be in the ground. He's on camera. They don't get out. There ain't no accident on that one. He's on camera. That's why our society is a mess. And he told me, murderers get out of jail all the time. They're let loose all the time. They walk. It's a revolving door. Go in, kill 2 or 3 people. Go in, go right back out on the streets. It's bad, people. All right, I'm done. Anybody